So last lesson we looked at inheritance and talked about the advantage of setting up a parent and a child relationship between two classes. Today we're going to look more specifically at creating methods in the child class. This is called overriding methods. So today we're going to look at a technique called overriding methods. The basic idea here is we have our child class, and it's going to redefine a method that already exists in the parent class. They'll have the same name, and usually they're going to have similar behavior, but the child class is going to implement the code a little bit differently. This is very similar to overloading. So to start off our example, we have a very simple class called quadrilateral. And as you remember from your geometry class, a quadrilateral has 4 possible sides, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we have a constructor here that sets the sides equal to whatever parameters the user sends in. And we're just going to do one simple calculation with the quadrilateral. We want to get the perimeter. So to do this, all we need to do is add up side 1, side 2, side 3, and side 4. Now it's fairly simple to go ahead and set up a child class of quadrilateral. So let's create a class, rectangle, extends quadrilateral. And again, that extends tells us that it is inheriting all of the code. So let's go ahead and set up our constructor. We don't need any new variables here. We're just going to use the same side 1 through side 4 that we already have in quadrilateral. So public rectangle. But we do want the ability to have a constructor that only uses 2 sides. So basically what we'll do is we'll use the super constructor, the constructor from the parent quadrilateral, and we'll pass in A, B, A, and B. Remember that a rectangle is a special type of quadrilateral where the opposite sides are equal. So we only need 2 side lengths for this one. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this. Right here I've got a quadrilateral Q, and we just have some side lengths set up. And when we run this, it adds up the 3, 7, 6, and 7, and we get a perimeter of 23. So let's go ahead and create a new variable, rectangle. R equals new rectangle, and we're going to create a side length of 4 and 5. And then when we print out perimeter r dot get perimeter, and we run that, and we get 18 for our perimeter. Now what's happening here, this get perimeter method, we didn't set one of these up inside rectangle, so it's going straight up here to the parent class, the quadrilateral. Well, let's go ahead and override that method. So we're going to create a second copy of it. So public, it returns an int, and it's called get. Okay, now you'll notice the header of my method is pretty much exactly the same. Public int get perimeter. Over here in quadrilateral, it's public int get perimeter. So it's the exact same header. So now we just need to return the answer. So return, and we're going to use super dot get. We'll just use one of our accessor methods. Side 1 plus super dot get side 2. Alright, we run that. Alright, now we have a little bit of a mistake here. Obviously my perimeter with 2 sides of 4 and 2 sides of 5 is not 9. So we need to go back. And since we have 2 opposite sides that are equal, we need to multiply each of these by 2. And when we run, now we get the correct perimeter 18. Now real quick, I'm going to add a dummy print statement to each of these so we can get a better idea of what's happening. So this says inside, so this is inside the quadrilateral class, and that's in our quadrilateral get perimeter method. And we're going to do the same thing over here in the get perimeter method inside rectangle. But we'll actually say inside rectangle. Okay, so now when we run, you'll see the very first time we call getParameter, we're inside quadrilateral, and that's because Q is a type quadrilateral object. The second time we run it, it says inside rectangle, and that's because R is a rectangle type object. So let's talk a little bit about overriding versus overloading. They're both basically the same idea. We're creating different methods that have the same name. When we're overloading, the two methods are sitting in the same class, and Java decides between them based on their signatures, which, if you remember, is just the list of parameters. In overriding, one is defined in a parent class and one is defined in a child class. They can use the same signature as we saw with the getParameter. Java decides which to use based on the type of the object that you're applying the code to. So as we saw, when we were in the rectangle object, it used the getParameter from that class. When we were in the quadrilateral, it used the getParameter from quadrilateral. So as we saw today, overriding methods is very similar to overloading methods. You're basically creating more than one method that uses the same name, and Java has to choose which method is appropriate in that situation.